What if you became a Templar for one day? We recently released a video about the assassins, and it would be a crime not to release a video about the Templars at the same time. So, in the next couple of minutes, your knowledge of the brave knights with a cross on their chest will be turned upside down, as we dive not into the fictional, but into the real history of one of the most powerful organizations in the world. How are the Templars similar to Amazon and Google at the same time, and why exactly are they considered the parents of the modern banking system? And, most importantly, how can they be linked to the formation of modern Russia? For this, we turn to our guest. Meet David de Gea. It is 1180 AD, and David is standing in the middle of Jerusalem in full vestments. We will not dwell on him in detail, because the Templars, the same knights, and in terms of equipment from them differed only one detail, the very thing we talked about in the video about the Crusaders. It's about the red cross on the chest. It is often associated with Crusaders in general, but this cross is the exclusive emblem of the Templar order. Among the Crusaders were others. Hospitallers, for example, could be recognized by a similar, but white cross on the uniform. Teutonic Order had a black cross, and the Order of St. Lazarus et al. Raced with something resembling a green four-leaf clover. There were many such orders, but all of them in one way or another defended the Christian faith. But the Templars stood out from the rest. After all, what do you think our Mr. de Gea is doing, standing in the middle of Jerusalem, fully equipped with a proud red cross? The city was taken over by the Christians, and it still belongs to them. Perhaps he is training his knights? Again, no. For the most part, Templar reinforcements come from Europe. David is actually acting as a guard for a petty French prince who has come to touch the holy relics. The task is simply to prevent the prince from conceding an arrow-shaped goal to his own goal, receiving a couple of minted coins for doing so. The noble knight sees nothing wrong with the guard's job. After all, the Templar order was created by them for that. Upon capturing Jerusalem in 1099, the Crusaders faced a harsh task. The Muslim population had been slaughtered, and the city was fairly well defended. But one only had to look at a map to realize how far Jerusalem was from Europe and how close to various eastern countries that wanted the blood of Christians. Petty spy landings and attacks on pilgrims from France, Italy and other countries were notoriously annoying. Mr. Hugo de Payne was the hero of the first campaign and a true believer along with 8 other knights. The boys bravely defended the shrines and helped to visit them, but received no support. They were so destitute that they possessed only 1 horse for 2. In 1119, Hugo de Payne, to draw attention to the problem, officially announced the creation of the Order of Templars, the holy task of which was to guard the pilgrimage routes. True, they did not call themselves Templars. Gugu founded the Order of the Poor Knights of Christ, in common parlance guys called beggar knights, because of the total raggedness. However, the zeal with which the boys sought to help others and the frequency of their faith attracted the attention of older comrades. King Baldwin II of Jerusalem decreed to give the knights a portion of the taxes from the local villages, and later, together with the Patriarch Vormund, allocated the beggar knights a part of the royal palace as an office. Somewhere at this stage the word Templars came into use, as the Payniers and the then King of Jerusalem were French. The order was associated with that country. Templar, translated from the French, means Templar. The organization was officially formed and Hugo became its first master. Later on, things got interesting. As we know, the worst opponent in battle is an enemy who believes. The Templars, at least at the beginning of their existence, were such. Got out of poverty guys quickly became popular, and the order was joined by a lot of crusaders hanging around Jerusalem with nothing to do. As a result, the way to the city from Europe really became safe. The Templars knew no pity, not for brigands, not for Saracens. They fought not for money, but for faith, and patrolled the roads of Palestine around the clock. By 1128 a charter of the Templars had been drawn up. There they enshrined a white robe with a red cross on the chest. Along the way, it was prescribed that 3 times a week they should practice charity. Each Templar was to feed the needy and help them with money. As we have already mentioned, there were no problems at this stage. It came to the point that the leadership of the order sent some of the knights to Europe. As a result, from Spain to England, branches of the organization were founded in cities. They collected recruits, trained them, initiated them into members of the order and sent them on missions. By 1180, this led to our David de Gea, though a good guy, doing more than just selfless deeds. The French prince he is escorting is from Champagne itself and has paid the Templars a handsome sum of money for the escort. Not that it was required. By this time the order has built luxury roads, on which the passage was free. Moreover, all along the way, the knights set up taverns where travelers rested in complete safety. All because in 1139 Pope Innocent II completely exempted the Templars from taxes. At the same time, they were freed from the orders of kings. In fact, the order reported personally to the Pope and did not need any decrees. And the money from donations continued to pour in. In defense of the Templars, they mastered themselves quite well. For the entire history of the order, guys built 150 cathedrals and 56 castles, erected crossings, ennobled holy places. It would seem that what could go wrong? I'm sure you've guessed it yourself. Greed intervened. Although each Templar and was a fighting machine, and in numerous serious battles with the armies of Muslims, they proved themselves to be on the best side. The top of the riches and impunity blew the roof. Remember our video about the assassins? Well, one of the Templar fortresses was very close to Saul, the capital of the assassin order. The next mission for our David is to go there, but not to war. Once a year the assassins paid the Templars 2,000 gold pieces in return for immunity. And the two orders had nothing to fight over. The assassins did not touch the Templars, and the problems with other orders and Muslims did not interest our Templars. So the famous series of games made up the conflict. Conflicts were, but with traditional Muslims. In 1147 the guys were the drivers of the Second Crusade, and in 1163 Templars destroyed the world of Aleppo. But for now, David faithfully carries out the master's instructions, fighting, as he thinks, for the faith in Europe. The fun is on. As we have already mentioned, the headquarters of the order are everywhere, and almost everywhere try to wash away sins before the Lord. Rich guys donate them fabulous sums. Part of it was used to rebuild temples, the other part was given to charity. But the Templars had so much money that the magisters could not resist greed. At the time, the standard lending rate was 40%. The Templar order paid no taxes to anyone, so it was easy to lend at 15%. Other activities opened up. Our David de Gea worked as a courier before he was promoted. The Templars set up an excellent analog of the post office. Guys delivered goods and parcels from London to Jerusalem in just 12 weeks, which in those days was considered a miracle. A miracle that paid well. In the offices of the order, like Google, you could find out about affairs at the front, gossip and other things. After all, no court or law specified anything. The Samson analogies continued. The master of the order struck a monopoly on sales of the legendary Anjou wine, which appears even in the Three Musketeers and is a favorite of D'Artagnan. Only the Templars sold it in Europe, and it was crazy money, for which the guys were actively buying up real estate and opening all new businesses. How about transferring money from Paris to Rome for just 5%? In those days it was a real shock, but the scheme worked, especially since everything looked decent in public. However, as is always the case, faith slowly faded into the background. Just 60 years after our David takes tribute from the assassins, the Templars would be quite comfortable killing other Christians. There remains ample evidence that the Templars forbade even their brethren in the faith from burying the dead. Eventually, as we know, Christians were kicked out of the Middle East, and a funny situation arose. Holy sites were lost, while numerous Templar branches and services still operated throughout Europe. The rulers by that time had had enough of lawlessness and a lot of money flying around, and they just needed an excuse. The Templars had lost their last stronghold in the East in 1291, so in 1307 French King Philip issued a decree on the arrest of all assets and members of the order. By that time the Inquisition was already marching across Europe and it was easy to accuse the guys. What only did not charge the Templars? Worship of Baphomet, kissing Satan himself and constant consultations with him. The Pope wanted to protect his own, but did not dare to go against the king. Eventually, the whole of Europe followed suit. Powerful never order plundered, sawed and pillaged. And in 1312, the Templars effectively ceased to exist. As Charles William Bickerton would later recall, with the Templars went a whole world, a world of chivalry, crusades, and mysticism. Lost credibility in the eyes of a people who had become more self-serving. Though our David de Gea served the order, a rigid hierarchy, vows of silence over domestic affairs and commerce, it cannot be denied that the Templars were good. They single-handedly rebuilt the transportation network of Europe, were a bastion of faith and inspired people to conquer. And, indeed, were the parents of a banking system that to this day operates according to the Templars' blueprints. Even centuries later, their words are reflected in games, movies, and numerous conspiracy theories claiming that the order is still alive. Legend has it that after the execution of the King of France in 1789, an unknown man jumped onto the dais, cliched you that the Templars had finally been avenged. Considering that by that point it had been over 400 years since the order was destroyed, the phrase is pretty interesting. Ideally, by this time they should have forgotten the other mysticism, the wealth of the Templars. The same King Philip who killed the Templars ordered the riches to be loaded onto a ship. But 18 galleys suddenly disappeared. The most popular theory is that an insane amount was sent to England. Brothers Templar Order of Zionists, by strange coincidence, around the time of the fall of the Beggar Knights and the disappearance of the galleys in the English King Edward, there were funds, and he won the 100 Years' War with France. But there are things on exotic textbooks on the history of Russia indicated how the Prince of Moscow sheltered at his place wanderers hiding from the French. And by an interesting coincidence, it was during this period, Moscow experienced unprecedented growth and in 1363 became a Grand Duchy. Most likely, legends remain legends and Templars are really destroyed, but this does not mean that the Knights have no followers left. Especially since their close friends the Zionists are alive and well to this day. So no matter how much modern creation embellishes the Temple Knights, it is not to say that it is done without reason. Well, if you have reason to give this video a like, do not forget to do it. And that's all for now. See you again, friends. Thanks for watching.